All right, welcome everyone to the podcast de la Chaise Bleue, directly live from Toronto, next to Pearson Airport. And I have the pleasure today to have with me my friend Phil. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely great. And I asked you to sit down with us because we were having a very, very nice conversation about what you guys were doing here in Toronto area for the aircraft industry and so on. And give us maybe, Phil, who you are, who you work for, and what's the mission you're pursuing in that field.
Yeah, happy
Just
to.
to give us the context of.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Phil Arthurs. I'm the Director of Operations for an organization called Downsview Aerospace Innovation Research. We are an incorporated not-for-profit consortium of academics and industry focused on the aerospace industry.
Sure.
Our vision, we're very...
That's better.
Much better, eh?
All right. So our vision, we're very aggressive, but is really to be a world-leading aerospace innovation hub.
Great.
And we kind of look at that
Helping
in
either startup or big company making
startups,
things.
SMEs, the large companies, across the ecosystem, trying to bridge the gap between academics and the academic research and training environment for aerospace and advanced manufacturing with industry. So we're actually building a physical innovation hub at Downsview Park here in Toronto, just north Toronto. So that's actually pretty hallowed ground for aviation. It's really the birthplace of aviation in Canada, where de Havilland started and really grew through the war effort. And what we're doing is actually repurposing a lot of the facilities there, kind of honoring the history of aviation, while building facilities for co-location, for training, for collaborative research and development to really push the next generation of people, processes, and products. And so very quickly, there's 3 facilities on site, a large 130,000 square foot training facility called the Bombardier Center for Aviation and Aerospace.
That is huge.
It's Centennial College's facility solely focused on aerospace and aviation training. About 1,000 students go through there a year. Hands-on training, 2-3-year programs, and everything from, aircraft mechanic programs, CNC programming, composites, automation and industry 4.0, engine manufacturing,
Engine maintenance too?
Engine maintenance, absolutely. Going to places like Bombardier and Mitsubishi and Air Canada and really across the board, really sought after skills. But then in addition, there's 2 labs on site already. Collaborative landing gear lab where Centennial College's applied research group, along with Safran Landing Systems, looking at next generation landing gear technologies, electrification of actuation systems, very interesting stuff.
Are you close to the airport, so you can have some sort of not a test cell for an aircraft engine, let's say, but somewhere outside where they can have their bench tests for the
forward looking? Yeah, we love
really?
certain things like that. But I mean, really looking at what D.A.I.R is trying to do in this burgeoning hub, we're still young. There's lots to come. So the lab. Toronto Metropolitan University actually has their Center for Aerospace Engineering Research right on site as well, looking at collaborative research with industry, aircraft interiors, passenger experience, satellite tracking, wing morphing technologies. Very interesting.
Much more technology in the aircraft these days.
Absolutely.
The field of business just within an aircraft just got so
absolutely.
big.
And then very briefly, in addition to the physical hub, we also deliver programs to support the entire ecosystem, whether they're on site or not, working with small and medium-sized companies on in really 2 avenues. We've got what we call the D.A.I.R Green Fund, where we actually provide funding and expertise towards collaborative research and development projects that can have an impact on green or sustainable aviation.
Great.
16 projects actually in that portfolio right now.
And we have take projects from outside of Ontario, or it needs to be
very interesting question. So the way we rolled both programs out, the first phases, they are Ontario-led, small companies, small or medium-sized companies. However, the partners can actually be located anywhere, and so we see some partners coming from outside Ontario. Obviously, there's
Montreal, I guess.
Such a huge connection, and with all the amazing work happening in Montreal, working very closely with Aero Montreal. And actually, speaking of that, the other program we have on the supply chain side is what we call our supplier development initiative. And this is really taking, again, the small and medium-sized companies. Very interesting. You're talking about kind of really looking at the state of companies, looking at digital, technologies, kind of looking holistically at a company's capacity and capabilities.
Sure.
And we take them through this kind of audit assessment phase, understand kind of where they are and where they need to go to meet the needs of tier ones and OEMs
You
and the
discuss
global
the
industry.
business value they're creating, the business
Exactly.
model.
And then we look at projects that they can implement to kind of close a gap or increase a capacity.
That is neat.
And then we kind of fund that. It's actually very similar, indeed, from the Montreal area, the MOC program.
The Mac, yeah.
Yeah. So we actually worked very closely with Aero Montreal, and really what we're trying to do is, the aerospace industry in Ontario is a little bit different, so we're tweaking it, but we're taking kind of that.
What do you
MOC
mean
initiative.
it's a little bit different? So, I know well the hub, the context in Montreal,
Yeah.
but what's the biggest difference?
The biggest difference is I would actually say the structure of the industry. So in Montreal, there with Bell, with Bombardier, CAE,
Pratt Whitney,
Pratt and
Canada.
Whitney. There's
Safran's
obviously
theirs.
amazing, small and medium-sized companies in Montreal as well, but it is kind of more the maybe top-down
are there.
OEM
Yeah.
focused.
Yep.
And here in Ontario, of course, we have Bombardier with the global series business jets being manufactured here and then flown over to Montreal for completions. But we're much more heavy on the tier ones and then the supply chain.
Great.
And so how do we service those? We're a little bit more geographically spread out. Of course, the majority of it is here in the Greater Toronto area, but there's great companies all across Ontario, and so how do you take those lessons learned from Montreal and programs that they've implemented, and then try to make them
Learn
work
from
and-
their mistakes and move
learn
forward.
from their successes, and even work with the individuals who run and organize those programs in Montreal.
Okay.
And so that's really the mandate of D.A.I.R. Facilitate discussions, offer programming to support the entire ecosystem.
That's really neat. You're giving a second life to all of these legacy building. You're, doing the collaborative project, and the fact you're doing some sort of an audit to see the business model and creating the project, because too many companies just do the plan. They make the audit, they have a plan, and at the end of the day, it collects dust on the shelf.
Yeah.
And that's one of the worst things. This is what truly kills me when you do an audit.
Yeah.
If it just go on a shelf and you did that for the grant and so on. But since you guys move forward with grant and other help.
Yeah, it's really a holistic program, right? I mean, we come in and we do the audit, understand their business plan, look at kind of, and the supportive projects, we have to prioritize, and the company needs to ultimately make the decision about which project they want to execute on, and then we can kind of support that through. We also bring in one of those OEM or tier one mentors that they work with to provide some feedback and
Insight. So someone for their RD department with
It
experience.
could be, it could be a current customer. For example, you look through the list of the OEMs and tier ones, they act as mentors for our program. Bombardier, Safran, Collins, Haru DevTech, CAE, all acting as mentors to the different small and medium-sized companies in our SDI program.
And I need to ask, for how long has it been running? Because
Well,
Because
it's
it's
actually
pretty
very
young.
new.
Yeah,
So
so-
both this supplier development program as well as our green fund, we're both actually wrapping the pilot projects. It's really only been the last year and a half.
Okay.
Where we
A year and a half, that's it?
where we stood up the programs, kind
Wow.
of created them.
I have so many
recruited.
questions for you. I don't want to take over the podcast, but to me,
but it really and now I do need to kind of this is made possible by some funding that D.A.I.R received through the local the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario, which is a Government of Canada regional agency, and so through funding there, D.A.I.R has been able to kind of put these programs together and deliver them over this last year and a half, and like I
deliver
said,
the project with the manufacturer, the small, medium size.
exactly. And so the whole supplier development kind of process is about a year. It depends on the project selected, right? I mean, we go through the assessment phase, actually working very closely. I mean, we're sitting here at the N3 event with NGen organizing, we partnered with NGen on part of the assessment phase as well.
Okay.
For these companies going through their TLP programming with our companies. And so that plus then identifying kind of action planning, again, not just looking at the report, kind of coming up with those prioritized plans, projects, and then executing those projects all kind of within the scope of a year. And actually same with our green fund on the collaborative R&D side, looking at a scope of about a year-long project where we were providing that funding and that structure for those projects to be executed.
And we were just talking before with Vasu that you seem to know quite well from Rogers.
Catalyst.
Catalyst.
Yeah. Catalyst.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because he was just telling us, like in cybersecurity, they were just launching these initiatives for collaborations in different fields where big players would come in and bring their issues, their problems, and open it up towards startups. But it's actually what the pilot project did, and now you're going to assess like what are the results and who wants to follow through, what will be happening afterwards.
Exactly, and I mean
curious.
our goal is really to continue evolving, growing these programs to support more companies, but also, to be perfectly honest, the same companies. When you look at things like supplier development, or this is a continuous improvement process, right? You need to consistently look at all of your different functions, whether it be quality, IT, HR, culture, like all of these different aspects. You need to continuously look at these, and there's always going to be projects.
It's a company culture.
It
You
is
always
as well, yes, and so it's very interesting to see the different diverse nature of projects that are being executed upon.
How many projects are you guys?
Yeah, sure. So the first, the supplier development
Cohort.
initiative, first cohort, has 19 companies.
That's a lot.
Congrats, guys! That's in a year and a half, eh?
And the Green Fund actually has 16 projects.
16?
16.
16.
Yeah, in our
Do you sleep at
first
night?
portfolio. Well, luckily we have an amazing team. We're a small organization, a growing organization, but so
Which
we
doesn't
have
sleep?
no, we have an amazing supplier development initiative manager, Berlin Smith, and an amazing Green Fund manager in Stephen Carniello, executing these projects for us, and then our team, our executive director, and everything else. So yeah, it's a real team effort to really support these companies, and yeah, the goal is to over the next 3-4 years, more cohorts, more calls for proposals. Continuing to execute on these initiatives.
And you don't know it yet, and I'll let Nick come back with questions. But you're actually talking to the collaborative network of manufacturers of Quebec. So they're the ones that are gonna be hearing about it, and a lot of people are in aerospace industry. So just to see that it's happening here, maybe can bring a bit of that back home afterwards.
Yeah, but the right people to speak with is Aéro Montréal.
Yeah.
Of course, it's kind
And,
of the same nature a little bit, but we will discuss something after the podcast for sure. One question for you, Phil.
Well, I will just say on that though. I mean, this is the way the aerospace industry across Canada, can compete and grow and continue to be the economic kind of piece to, we have to work collaboratively.
Totally
right?
agree
It
with
can't
you.
be, Quebec and Ontario, Atlantic, out west. There's going to be areas where we compete, of course, naturally. But I mean, there's so much opportunity for collaboration, and and this is why I mean we're very excited, to partner not only with local organizations like the Ontario Aerospace Council, but also Aero Montreal and different activities
On a global level.
Exactly.
And one of the things that is really important for me is in Canada, for a little while, we've been doing more R&D, and a lot of manufacturing has been offshore, but we need to work more in a collaborative way to reshore these manufacturers here, and it has to make sense. It has to create more value. So I truly believe what you guys are doing will help in the reshoring of these production.
Yeah, and that goes to, of course, strengthening the supply chain, but also the workforce.
Yep.
making sure that not only are we training the next generation through our colleges and university systems, but also looking at upskilling and mid-career transitions, and so that's part of the other piece. Trying to leverage the schools and the programs, the different entities to really put programs together to upskill, to ensure that we have the manufacturing base and the skill sets to do
To
that,
compete
to compete
on a
Yeah.
global level. And two more questions. How do these, out of all of these projects you've been working on, what would be the most common roadblock these companies are facing from passing, this is the plan and now we make it happen? Is there one common roadblock that these guys will have to go through, or?
I don't think there's one common. I think we see a wide range of call it issues or challenges. I think when you look at collaborative research and development projects, you always have to look at IP considerations. You obviously have to look for aerospace more than maybe any other sector, regulatory, and engaging early with Transport Canada and some of the organizations that support the regulatory pathway in addition to your commercialization pathway. So those need to be key considerations. A big challenge is the workforce. If you're looking at new
The
projects,
workforce is one of them.
well, yeah,
Of course. Okay.
finding workforce to
They should expect that.
engage, right? So
This is why you involve the schools with you, the training program,
exactly,
and so on.
and
Right.
organizations like Engine and their Future Ready programming. Right?
If we have the chance to speak with, let's say, our Prime Minister of Canada, what would be the one
Business.
question you would like to ask him to help you in your mission?
That's a very tough one.
I'm getting you out of the comfort zone or the discussion we have. It's a
Well, I think it comes back to kind of reiterating how important aerospace is to the economy.
Okay.
The importance of it, the number of companies that are engaged, not only in making aircraft and aircraft components, the space side of things, but all kind of the spin-off effects as well. And so looking at national strategies for aerospace, support for aerospace, there's a really kind
Is
of
there a specific
large and
plan for
important-
the aerospace industry in the year to come? Not a plan, but
I don't think there's kind of one plan. I mean, there's great organizations, especially at the federal level, the Aerospace Industries Association of Canada, doing work to kind of. I think actually concurrent to this event today, they're up in Ottawa with their Day on the Hill, actually talking with a lot of the government officials. Again, reiterating the importance of aerospace. And I would also say the importance of aerospace, making that aware to the public, and showcasing aerospace as an amazing career path, an opportunity for either, again, mid-career
Promote this
or
field of
youth.
business.
Promote it as an amazing field, an exciting field to join. And there's so many different skill sets that this industry needs.
nice. Hey, Phil, you seem passionate about your field. I can feel it. You're really deep into it, and
Well, it's been my background, kind of my whole career. So
it really makes sense, though.
yeah, I mean, aerospace engineering, and then working in the industry for a while. Working at government, and then at D.A.I.R. So kind of experiencing aerospace from, I guess, in school, in industry, in government, now in a not-profit. So kind of experiencing the sector in all the different avenues.
And last question I have for you, Phil, is let's say we can have anyone you'd like on that podcast to speak about, the future of the aircraft industry here in Canada. Who would you like to hear giving his opinion about what you're working on? It could be anyone. You don't have to know the person. It could be
Alive or dead?
Oh, that's a very tough one. I don't know if I can come up with a good answer off the top of my head. I think I would turn around and say that there are so many great events, conferences, activities where the key leaders, both industry, academic, government, students, come together to discuss these issues.
Okay.
We were lucky enough to run our first kind of annual conference last year called D.A.I.R to Innovate, where we had amazing
I like the name.
panelists and thanks. I can't take credit for that. And so those types of forums, or like I said, up in Ottawa with AIC or others, where we continuously bring these leaders together to discuss the issues of common interest and talk about the challenges, but how do we turn those into the opportunities for our sector, which I think are in abundance with production ramp ups and great opportunities, and even looking at quickly the greening or the sustainability side. Of course, a huge challenge for our industry. Trying to get to net zero, and probably one of the hardest industries to kind of get away from carbon. But you turn that around.
So maybe talking with someone talking about carbon, someone in
I think
environment.
That has to be a key component in all kind of our discussions, because
maybe it's Stephen Guilbeault.
Because they're all of the different collaborative research and development projects, supply chain, we always have to have that eye on, where the industry is going to meet its net zero targets, what can be done both in the near and longer term, because that's also where the growth will be for our industry.
Sure. Hey, Phil, thank you very much for your time. Really interesting. I'll keep posted with you and try to find maybe the Minister of Environment to ask him all of these questions. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks very much.
All right.
Yeah.